Today is February 22nd, 2015, and this is Overgrowth Weekly 92 with the Q&A number 8. My name is Lukas Orsvan.
Oh, I'm Anton Real. How's it going?
I'm David Rosen.
And I'm Aubrey, sir.
And previously we tried to record this, but my internet started crapping out. Now, hopefully, I have it fixed now, so I record from a different location, so hopefully that works. So even if I drop out, the entire stream won't go. So thumbs up for that. We should also mention that there's been a new alpha released recently, Alpha 209, and there's a video. Who's broadcasting that? Someone had a car drive by or something, maybe?
I don't know. I hear a car outside.
Yeah.
But
all right. So yeah, Alpha 209 was released, and there is a video of that you can watch if you would like on the Wolfire website. So let's jump straight into questions. I like these questions from Sand in Your Pants. Question. It's for some reason it's question 1, even though it's obviously not question 1. But he asks anyway, what was the most difficult tech feature to implement into Overgrowth?
It's probably physics in general. Though it's kind of hard because a lot of programming stuff is like death by 1,000 cuts. It's like just finding out what's slow, what's not working. It's really the hardest part was just like trying not to be a noob anymore. Learning how to actually program correctly. But I think overall I probably spent the most time on the physics and animation integration.
Anton, you keep sending sounds.
do I?
Yes, like small rumbling sounds.
Oh, I don't know why. Let me turn down my preamp a little bit.
Okay. Talking about the animation stuff, because I had someone ask about that actually. Ask me about how long did I think it would take to implement, the system that Overgrowth has. What are the different systems really? What's going on behind there to make that all work like it does?
One of the hardest things was the active ragdoll system, because it's not really something that bullet physics engine was really designed for. So I had to just experiment with that a lot to figure out the best way to actually make it work. So doing it again would be a lot faster than doing it the first time, I think.
Okay.
And that was something I really found in this game jam where I tried to write a new engine in 2 weeks. And I got a lot of the Overgrowth functionality in there. I think we lost Lukas.
Oh, what if you want to talk a little bit about that engine, when you say you got a lot of some of the elements in, what exactly does that mean in terms of live updating or physics or other things like that?
Well, it had some GPU skinning using OpenGL 3.3 shaders, which was pretty fun because it ran really fast. I had 100 characters walking around, and it had almost no impact on performance, which is pretty cool.
Interesting. And you don't have that in Overgrowth right now, right? that number of characters, meaning if you had that many characters right now, Overgrowth wouldn't keep up, or no?
Yeah, because Overgrowth, I don't have a way to scale down the animation processing far enough to make that work well. The physics-based animation stuff is kind of always going for all the characters. So
I see.
Some way to scale that back.
That makes sense. Lukas, are you back?
I think so. Am I back?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. Okay. So sorry I dropped out there for a while.
We kind of finished that one. So The next question is why do you use the .obj file format? Is it because everything else is overkill? Still, this is from the same sand in your pants.
Someone's saying my sound is really low.
Yeah, it was fine before the show, but I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit low.
Weird.
Weird.
Weird. I'll try amping it up a bit on my end.
Sounds good.
Comp. How about that?
That's better. I think it could still go up a little.
Test. I think that's about as high as it can go up on my end without clipping.
Yeah, that sounds better, I think.
Yep.
Cool. So why do you use obj format? Well,
Ouch.
I like to have human readable format so you can look at the file just in a text editor and get an idea of what's going on. But in the Jam project, I made a new file format, which is kind of like OBJ, but it also adds support for animations and skeletal, which is something that's missing for .obj. It doesn't have any built-in support for bones or vertex weighting or poses or anything like that. So it is kind of nice to have something that can support all of that.
The reality, I mean, as an artist, there's just not much out there that is actually a good file format that is simple but supports that stuff.
Like, have you looked at other formats like Collada and FBX and stuff like that? What caused you to choose OBJ with a separate like skeleton file and so on for Overgrowth? Why not use any of the other formats?
Collada is kind of an attempt to standardize, but you can't really standardize animation very well because you always need to have a rig that's separate from the deformed bones for any kind of non-trivial animation. So you need some way to export only the deformed bones without having to export the whole rig. And no built-in exporter is going to do that. Like if you just go to Blender or Max or Maya or whatever and do export FBX or export Collada, it's going to export everything in the scene, or everything that's selected. So it would be difficult to... Like, you're going to have to make your own export script anyways. And if you're doing that, I feel like there's not much benefit to using some kind of standardized format. So I just made my own format.
Okay, that makes sense. Have you heard about, there's a file format called OpenGEX. Have you heard about that format?
OpenGEX.
I have not heard about it.
Yeah, I don't know how good it is or anything like that, but it's apparently it's an attempt to make Collada but better, like working in general. So yeah, that's a thing that's out there anyway.
Maybe I'll check that out. Yeah, I was trying using FBX for the game jam, but there are various reasons why that didn't seem very good. Like the library itself, it has some kind of ambiguous license, so it's not clear if you can actually use it in the game. Like it seems like they might want you to license it from them. And it's one of those things where they don't give you a price until you contact them, so they probably decide the price on the fly based on how much they think you can pay and so on. Which I don't want to deal with, because they just don't add enough value to cost any amount of money. And the library itself is also enormous and slow for some reason. Like the .lib file, I would expect it, like for most of my libraries that I use, it's like 100 kilobytes, but for FBX it's about 100 megabytes, which is kind of crazy.
I wonder what they got in there.
Yeah.
Man, I had a question about that, but it kind of slipped. Right, you were talking about human readable.
About the engine.
I'm sorry. You go ahead.
I'm planning to make a video at some point pretty soon about the game engine that I worked on for the jam. I'll probably try and explain more about that.
Sweet, that should be really nice. I had a question about the human readable thing that you were talking about. You like it when the format is human readable. Does that mean that you that you like having that in the actual engine too? Because I feel like the loading times get much longer and so on with the human readable, right?
Yeah. I usually like to make a distinction between the development and the deploy format. So the development format would be like what Aubrey's using to author the assets. So like texture isn't to be Targa, just because it's really easy to edit the different channels in Photoshop. Not really because of anything about the format, just because of how Photoshop handles it arbitrarily by default, opening it as different channels instead of as a mask. But then for shipping, I want it to always be a compressed format like DDS. So I just have it automatically convert. And I do the same thing for OBJ or any other format. You convert from the human readable into a more packed binary format. That's just like how the game stores it in RAM. So you could just stream it in directly.
Hmm.
There have definitely been cases where, for example, the fact that the levels are in human readable format makes it a lot easier to, for like, update assets. You can just do a find and replace of an asset name with one asset and replace it with another asset without ever having to open up the game. Or there's cases where there's the levels having some problem and you can just go in and find the problem, the specific asset that's not loading, and then delete it and then save it, and then the level will load fine. So it's really helpful sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine. It helps in those kinds of situations. I just feel like when you're using like human readable format in game development, it's going to increase loading times. So I feel like the kind of friction for making new content and like working with the engine in general is going to go up. Is that something that you have thought about in like balancing that whole thing?
Well, in Overgrowth, I've been trying to make just like it automates the deploy format. So if you create a .obj file, the first time it loads it, it'll load the text version, the human readable version, and it creates the packed binary format. And every time after that, if it sees that the OBJ format, it's going to check the packed binary format and just load that instead if the checksum is right. So it should theoretically get the best of both worlds in that case.
All right, that's pretty good. I think that's a good middle ground actually. Okay, so let's move on to another question perhaps. We have one from MumuHK. We asked this one last week when the stream crashed and burned. So he asks, "Yo booyah Kasha, it's your boy MumuHK with a question for my boy David. A few days ago, David came on IRC and someone asked about proper mod support. I think everyone agrees the current system is pretty pants for both developers and users. Can't really say mod support is a real feature of the game. So Dave, what's the game plan? PS, I suggested a mod loading concept to you, which is simple and powerful in theory. I'm pretty sure you got the idea at the time, but if not, let me know."
So I don't remember exactly what his suggestion was, but there's definitely a lot of ways that the mod support could be included, or improved rather. I think we can say it's a feature of the game at the moment, because I think that's what the players probably spend most of their time doing, is playing around with the different mods. But it definitely could be improved a lot. So I'm going to look into that more in the future.
It depends on what you mean by mod support also, because, I mean, custom levels might be considered mod support, right? Like custom art assets on custom levels might be considered a mod. So it definitely, some of that is definitely supported. But like, it could definitely also be better.
I think one of the things that, since we run some launcher, we sort of have to differentiate between replacing or adding new assets, things like, new characters and new maps. We have to treat them differently than anything that has to do with scripts or anything that replaces files. I think the big sort of mod support that we're missing at the moment is being able to choose what script file you're running from, especially the the character files, or aschar.as is the file that, for a lot of mods to work, you have to replace that one file, and it often doesn't, it's not an easy thing for us to keep track of because it's updated all the time. So I sort of wonder if there's ever a way that you can choose a file to load that from. I think that may be what he's asking about.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, I could add some sort of hooks where, like in the update function, it calls like mod update, and then mod update will be loaded from whatever mods you have loaded, so that it can be sort of separated. So that's definitely one of the ways to improve it. And also just like creating a folder that can include mods, so you don't have to put them in the normal paths, which can get overridden by Steam when you do a Steam update. So I have all these things that should work on for mods. It's just a question of like when to do that versus working on the campaign or all that. There's a lot of things to do.
Right, a lot of things to prioritize, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
once
the game is out and all that, I'm sure people will be maybe distracted by that for a while, so that you have time to work on that stuff or something. I don't know.
Well, and the truth is that
to-do list.
Yeah. Well, and as David said, people are already doing it, so there's no real hiding that functionality from the user base. So you can do it. You just have to be a little bit careful about keeping track of it yourself, in terms of scripts, which is, I think, one of the biggest complaints is every time there's an update and a script gets overwritten, but not necessarily the entire script, then people are like, oh, it broke. And you're like, well, what mods did you have installed? And you have to kind of force people to go backwards to get things working again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You do a clean fix.
Yep. Okay, another question. This one is from Windlord, who asks, how do you both, David and Aubrey, keep yourselves at the top of your game, motivated and focused? I think we asked this one last week as well. I would imagine that there might be lulls in productivity for such a large scale and long-running project, especially done by just a couple of people.
Well, part of it, sometimes I don't. Like, sometimes I'm not at the top of my game, and there is a lull in productivity. And that happens sometimes, but I just try and minimize it in various ways. Like, the game jams help a little bit, just by kind of shifting my brain to think about things in a new way. Usually after that, I come back to Overgrowth, and I have more efficient ideas about how things can work. And more energy.
I think that just having a kind of broader idea of what productivity means is kind of important, because in games you see a lot of people kind of burn out, and when they burn out, they basically they don't want to do what they started doing. And I just kind of like making art, making cool video games. I don't want to switch to doing something else. So it means that you have to kind of pace yourself. And sometimes that means taking breaks or doing something else for a while. I kind of alternate between learning tools, practicing art. And then sometimes I am really into like drawing on the comic or he totally went black.
What went black?
All the OG, the little videos, cameras went black.
Uh-oh.
I think it might be up again, I hope.
We'll see.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Cool. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Also, sometimes have to just shift your to think about a boring problem in a way that makes it seem more interesting. Like if I'm working on text or UI or anything like that, you can think of it as really boring, but there's always something interesting about it. Like people make their whole careers out of typography or graphic design or UI optimization. So there's definitely a lot there you can dig into if you think about it right.
For sure, for sure. So you talked about the game jam stuff that you've been doing. I mean, are you still doing Jam for Lila, or is that over now?
That's over now, at least for now. We didn't want to spend more than 2 weeks away from Overgrowth. But
Yeah,
I want to make a video still.
Yeah, I still need to make my
what
video
we're
too.
working on.
The videos should be cool. I think David's video is going to be cooler. Mine's just going to be kind of the standard art asset overview video.
We'll see.
I've been
debating.
debating.
Kind of the point of it is to show people how they can make their own engine, just because I think it's a lot easier than people think, and can be a viable alternative to licensing an existing engine like Unity or Unreal.
That all makes sense. I was gonna say I don't know if I did a little bit for this game, and I'm still sort of debating how I would approach it. That's not, the same about music that I've done the last few times that I did videos about music. So we'll see. I don't know. My process is still kind of the same, so it's just showing off different music this time, I suppose.
Yeah. There's definitely benefit to just showing off different music, and also not everybody sees all the videos, so.
No, that's
true. You can
true.
always think about how you chose the style and designed it for dynamic layering and so on.
True. It's kind of weird though, because I did such a sort of minimal number of instruments. It's a very small piece of music in comparison to a lot of other pieces I've done for you guys.
Still awesome.
Now you're just flattering me.
So you said you were going to make a video of you creating the entire engine from scratch, or is that already up, David?
It's not up yet. I'm still working on that in free time. So I'm also trying to get more progress done on Overgrowth. Kind of try to pace out the different things.
Mm-hmm.
GDC's going on, so it's getting really kind of busy with that kind of stuff too. Going to parties is hard work.
Mm-hmm. It's called networking,
It's inspiration.
Oh, yeah. Networking.
Come on.
Networking and marketing is hard work, especially hard on my liver.
Oh.
I'm probably just going to try and work this whole time. I'm kind of taking a break from GDC this year.
That reminds me, do you guys want to see my handout? I actually finished it. So I don't know if you guys know, I was working on a handout for GDC, but I think it's pretty cool. And maybe something of interest to Wolfire fans.
Yeah,
for sure. You should link it. You should link it, yeah.
Oh, it's a physical object. I actually made a thing.
Whoa.
So let's see, that should be pretty centered, right? So here's the boring side, and then you kind of flip it over. And let me make sure it's centered on the can. Okay. Oh yeah, that's way too small. Oh wait, okay. And then you open it up.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I like how much that expands. It's
I like how I
very
put
cool.
my fingers over it while I'm showing it, but yeah. Okay.
Do you think you could scan that and put it up somewhere so people can?
One idea I had is, if you want a copy and you're watching OG Weekly, just email me your address. I'm Aubrey at Wolfire, so if you really want a copy, I'll send you one. So that's the deal.
No PDF
Sweet.
Printable version.
Nah, I don't think I'm going to do a scan or anything.
Well,
I mean,
want
I
a
have
copy.
the original. I have the actual file formats. I could just post the art, but I don't think I'm going to.
I think that the physical thing is much cooler anyway.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, like that's the whole thing. It's like a gimmick, right? Like it's not the same if you just look at the art.
The way that you were opening it and unfolding it reminds me of a few magic tricks for doing bill changes and things like that. Just the order of operations. You could incorporate that somehow. Or you've seen my business cards, right? I think in person.
Yeah.
you have to incorporate that.
Yeah, Anton has some pretty famous business cards.
It's true. Well, people certainly remember my business cards maybe more than they remember me. so it sort of works.
Well, I guess that's you don't want your business cards to be too much, because then you'll be the business card for your actual business card, kind of, right? It's like, oh wait, you're the guy with the awesome business card. Can I get a few more business cards?
I still just have the simple, boring ones like this.
That works too.
So in case people are wondering, when I take my business card out of my wallet, it catches on fire. There's a flame about this high off the top of it. So it's real fire, and it's really on fire. And so, I'll be at parties and people will ask me over and over to keep giving out business cards. It's kind of silly.
That's pretty cool.
I think we're losing you again, Lukas.
We could take some of the questions from the chat too.
Yeah. There were a couple in here that I saw. One that I saw from Sir Fellowlease. I don't know. How come you have no ways to interact with ragdolls except for dragging or kicking them?
Well, I guess I'm not sure what else you'd want to do with them exactly.
You should be able to run into them at top speed and wipe out. Like, boom. If you hit a ragdoll while running at top speed, you should totally ragdoll also.
Like, it might be cool if you can knock them into non-ragdolls like you could in Lugaru. Or if you're much bigger than them, if you could just like do a fireman's carry and carry them around much faster. Like a wolf could pretty easily carry bodies around. Or a dog.
Yep. And was there anything else in here? That was the only one that that was the only one that I caught. Because otherwise
Aubrey was
what? I was asking Aubrey a question.
Oh yeah, I'll read this question. You draw really busy worlds in your art and concepts, Aubrey. Will overgrowth levels ever be that city-like? So like some of them in this handout, some of the depicted environments are actually like from Receiver or from Desperate Gods. So, but it's true. I've drawn a lot of really dense concept art for Overgrowth over the years, so it would be cool to hit that level of density. So yeah, I think eventually I might shoot for that. I think that would be awesome.
That's a lot of it's kind of a technical issue, which is just being able to render all that. And part of it is compatibility. Like, I can pretty easily write pixel shaders and geometry shaders and vertex shaders and stuff to offload everything to the GPU and make it super fast with very little CPU impact. But the hard part is making that work on like every graphics card that's currently supported. Because I always feel bad releasing a new update that breaks it for some people, especially people with older hardware and software. Because then I get these bug reports and I'm like, well, it just won't work for you. You'll have to upgrade your stuff.
Yeah, that's always hard to tell people.
Yeah. Okay, so 32 minutes have gone by, and we've had a lot of questions. So maybe we should cut it there and then move on to the rest of the show.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Sweet. So yeah, we'll have a little musical interlude, and then we will be back in a moment.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Bye bye, and thanks David and Aubrey, unless you're staying.
Thanks, guys. I'll probably watch the show from the sidelines.
Sweet. See you in a moment.
Say that again.
Agenda. All right. Let's see if this works. Oh, it works. Of course it works. Yeah, take a look at that, man. It's just Anton and me now. Sweet. So, like I said, I didn't say this, but I said it during the break to the rest of the people here, but there won't be any fan art this week, unfortunately, because I didn't have time to set that up. So next time there will be fan art. I'm sorry. All right. So we have the agenda stuff. Let's see here. I have a few videos and stuff. Let's see if this stuff works. So if you look at the agenda, we're at the community part, and we're gonna look at boss battle by a hunting dog. So let me play this video and see if this works. Ooh. There we go. All right, so this level it's a very special level that I like it a lot. So the basic premise is that there are like these smaller dudes walking around with like special abilities and stuff. So like one is really fast, one is strong, and so on, and one of them is just huge, as you can probably see here pretty soon. And like how huge? Like 10 meters tall or something like that. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, at least. And it actually makes fighting him a little weird at times because he's so... it's sometimes hard to tell what direction to dodge and if he's attacking or not attacking and things like that. So, but it's kind of fun feeling like you can beat up such a giant guy.
Yeah.
The sad thing that still works every time is that you can also surprise him and catch him in a chokehold, and the fight can be over in like 2 seconds. So
exactly, that's kind of one of the bad things about it, I suppose. But that's just the way Overgrowth work is that you can just choke them, any of them. You see, this battle, for instance, took a really long amount of time, even though he was like stabbed continuously during the entire fight. So yeah, there's a lot of blood and stuff, which is really cool too. But you can also just choke him in like 4 seconds if you manage to get behind him. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah. So overall, this felt like a pretty, solid attempt. I like the use of custom assets, and it definitely sort of feels like there's an arc to this adventure, so to speak.
I absolutely agree, and I like the level looks really good. It feels consistent, and just weird stuff in general.
Yep.
This.
Yep.
Alright. So that was. What was it even? Let me see. Bam. Boss battle made by Hunting Dog. And of course, as usual, we have a link to that in the agenda. Next level is Follow Right. It's a short.
Oh. I can't hear you anymore. So I don't know that I've. Is this the level that wow, I've lost where we are. Sorry guys. Lukas,
back again.
back? Oh, okay. There we go.
Alright. Yeah. So Follow Right is it's a weird level. I think this is a level that was ported to Overgrowth by just exporting the entire geometry of this Garry's mod level into a single model that was then just imported into Overgrowth.
Oh really?
I think so, yeah.
That's crazy.
Because it still has some of the stuff in there that you would expect, like, oh, this looks like it would probably be moving in a circle, but now it's just static, and stuff like that. But this is like both good and bad. Some of the falling puzzles, so to speak, because this is a map, all you do is just fall down hills with a ragdoll, so that's fun.
That is fun. I'll definitely have to try that.
Yeah. So what I was saying, yeah. So some of them just don't work, but some of them work really quite well. And one big upside of it all being one model is that it's really performs really well. Because for some reason Overgrowth just does not work well when you have a lot of different objects in the game. I don't really know why that is, but that's the way it is.
Right. Cool.
So yeah, Follow Right is created by Shortstuff7, ported by Megadeth 9811.
Right, which I believe is Akazi's brother, for everyone who didn't want to know that.
Who didn't want to know that?
I don't know. I don't know if anyone wants to know those things or not. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So
Alright.
those of you who enjoy falling, it's a good falling level, it looks like.
Yeah.
It is. I feel like Overgrowth does have a very realistic sensation of falling. So, wow, I'm getting tunnel vision. So,
yeah, I totally agree. But it's kind of bad also because in Overgrowth you fall freaking fast. Like you fall, oh goodness, you fall fast, which means that the collision with detection is not fast enough, so you can sometimes fall through things and so on.
Right. I actually discovered recently that if you are falling and ragdolling, you fall faster than if you're falling and alert, which is kind of an interesting
Interesting.
Well, it's sort of an interesting fact that you fall faster when ragdolling, and the way that I found that out was by playing the Lunny Bunny tribute, and in that you fall and they launch off rockets which fly at a pretty consistent rate, and what was happening is I was falling and I could see that the rocket was not catching up to me, and then I revived myself, and then I started falling at a slower pace, and so then the rocket caught up to me. So there is something different about falling physics for a ragdoll versus a non-ragdoll. So
For sure. I've noticed similar things as well. But yeah, if you really like falling with ragdolls, this is a map for you. My only biggest complaint for this level, it's ported, it's a straight port, so obviously some of them don't work and so on. But my biggest complaint other than that is that the place where you have all the rods that are like just next to each other, there are not enough rods.
Oh, not enough rods.
Yeah, I gotta get more of them rods.
Makes sense.
So yeah, that's that. Next up we have Cat Fortification by Thamison 1005. And let's see. Do I not have a video of this one? I should have a video of this one, but I haven't got it. For some reason I didn't place it in the right place, so I kinda don't have it at the same time. Which is unfortunate. Let's see. Does this stuff work? I'm sorry, guys. I have a new setup. Okay, good. I don't have a video.
You don't have a video. Okay.
All right. So yeah, Cat Fortification. It's it's also a pretty cool level. It's basically you're this person who is going to rescue your friend from this fort, which to begin with is something that you don't see every day in an Overgrowth level, because you can actually go in there and go up to his cage and stuff, and he will, you know, actually get out of the cage because you rescue him, of course. So it's like really cool level in that way. But also, I mean, it's pretty well put together in general. Like, it looks good, it makes sense, and so on.
It also has some dialogue in it too, right? So, yeah, it seems like a pretty straightforward map, but very good. So, and it's also already in some launcher as well. So, I don't know if I mentioned this on the air, so to speak, but I've changed the way that I'm accepting submissions for some launcher now. Oh, we've disappeared.
It's fine. I'm restarting the call.
Okay. Sorry. So what I was saying is that I've changed the way that some launcher, how I accept files. Basically, you have to prepare your file for some launcher for me because I don't have time to reorganize everything. So this is one of the first maps that has actually gone through that process. And so it worked. I mean, once he sent me his file, I had it online very quickly. So it was good.
Nice. Like a world first right there.
So I think he sent it to me while I was sleeping Friday. So I had some revisions I had to ask him to do. And on Sunday or Saturday night, it was published and online. So it was pretty fast.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've made a level and you want to get up, you now need to do that stuff. I think we talked about it before, but I think it's worth mentioning again, if nothing else.
Right. So I have a list of ones that you technically don't have to, but if you're not on that list, then you do have to have it posted. And if you do the work for me, rather than me having to do it for you, then it will get online much faster.
Really nice. All right, so that's Cat Fortification by Thamison, 1005. Next up, we have two things that have been updated, two mods to be specific. We have the Stealth Attraction mod by Troll Boogie was updated, as well as the Epic First Person mod by Watergun 127. So this the Epic First Person mod was initially made by
Corbin.
Yeah, Corbin, exactly.
Corbin 3.
And now this person, Watergun 127, has made it work for this version.
Right. You're breaking up a little bit again. So both of these were the Epic First Person mod was originally done by Corbin, and when this person re-released it, he credited Corbin as doing the initial work, and then has sort of been upkeeping it ever since then. Although I think he changed a little bit about how the mod works, specifically about how you go backwards with the mod. So it's slightly different than the original. And then the Stealth Attraction mod is a mod that lets you get the attention, basically, of rabbits that are nearby, or enemies that are nearby, I should say, sorry. And you can basically lure them to you, as opposed to just waiting until you run into them or till they see you, things like that. So it's supposed to be similar to the functions in Assassin's Creed or something, or anything where you can like throw objects to make people hear something and go investigate. So it's an interesting mod, and we're glad that it has been updated.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, I'm just getting the call working here again. Technical difficulties.
Yep.
Yeah, we try to just mention whenever these mods are updated so that people know that yes, they do indeed work with the latest version of the game. And unfortunately, there has been more community stuff. There has been, but issue is I've had so much trouble this week with getting this whole streaming thing to work at all. A lot of extra work. So hopefully for next time there will be more community stuff. Sorry about that. All right, that's the end of the show though.
Very good. Thanks for tuning in, you guys.
And we will see you again in 2 weeks. So that means that the schedule has been offset by 1 week now.
Perfect. At least we know.
Yes, at least we know. So yeah, see you guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
See you guys. Thanks for tuning in.